As president, I'm also taking on the gigantic health insurance companies that have gotten rich on billions of dollars of government subsidies. And I want the money to go directly to the people. I want the money to be paid directly to the people so that they can buy their own health insurance, which will give far better benefits at much lower cost. By the way, what I told you about buying the drugs at this massive dollar discount, it's like from where it is, that's going to have a huge impact on the cost of health care.
That's President Trump in North Carolina on Friday, pledging better health benefits at lower costs for Americans. The president planning to meet with major insurance companies in a bid to lower prices even further, as millions of Americans do face a potential spike in premiums in the new year. Congress adjourning for the year last week without extending the Affordable Care subsidies set to expire next week. Joining me now is Minnesota Congressman and House Majority Whip Tom Emmer. Congressman, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here this morning. What are your expectations in the new year now that your colleagues on the left did not get what they wanted again?
Well, Merry Christmas, Maria. Great to be with you. First off, when you talk about the Affordable Care Act, you got to remember this was the law of the land 15 years ago. Democrats passed this on their own, and they promised back then, Maria, that you'd get three things. You could keep your doctor. You'd have many choices, and your premiums would go down. Well, guess what, Maria? They're 0 for 3. And when they did this, they worked with the health insurance companies to actually draft this law. You know who's benefited in the last 15 years? The health insurance industry. They have made billions of dollars. We got to give our president credit. Not only is he reducing cost of drugs for all Americans, I mean, he went directly to the producers, got them to start to acknowledge they've got to bring those prices down so Americans can get access to the drugs that they need. But you know what? Now he's going towards the insurance industry, the health insurance industry, while Democrats are talking about health care that they broke, and they're talking about enhanced tax premiums that go directly to insurance companies and only impact 7% of Americans, about 21 million people, while 300 million Americans are having 20% increases in their health insurance. We got a president who's actually going after the problem, and he's going to try and solve it.
Yeah, no, it's a good analysis that you've got. But, you know, these expiration of the subsidies will hit 22 million Americans. And so, you know, the Democrats use that as their reasoning to spark the longest government shutdown anyone has ever seen. Funding runs out at the end of June. How are you looking in terms of these appropriations packages to ensure that actually you can resist a potential government shutdown? Do you think you'll get the appropriations bills done, or you're still at 3?
We're still at 3, but I do. I'm still bullish on it. I think the Democrats, in fact, the failed leader from the Senate, Democrat leader, minority leader, Chuck Schumer, is already signaling that they're probably not interested in a shutdown. In the meantime, there's another 6 bills, I understand, 5 or 6 that are ready to go. So hopefully we come back right after the new year. And over 3 weeks, we try to pass at least 3 bills a week and have it done by January 30th, Maria. That's going to be job one when we get back.
Yeah, that would be certainly very positive. Now, the president is promising bigger tax refunds for Americans in the new year due to the big, beautiful bill. And I spoke with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on this program last week. He says we can expect substantial refunds in the first quarter. And I want to get your take on this. Watch this.
Let's go back. The one big beautiful bill was passed on July 4th, but for working Americans, it was retroactive to the beginning of the year. Most taxpayers did not change their withholding, so as a result, we're going to see very substantial 100 to 150 billion of refunds in the first quarter go directly to Americans' pockets. So the sooner they file, the sooner they'll get them. Our estimate is it could be 1,000, 2,000 per household, depending on the number of workers.
So, Congressman, what would you say about that? And what do you think is going to be the most impactful in the first and second quarters of next year from that big, beautiful bill?
Well, I think that the Treasury Secretary is very clear, and he's right. The bill that we passed, people haven't actually seen what it's going to do. They really don't know when you say the big, beautiful bill, Maria, they really don't know what's in it, which is why we started talking about the Working Families Tax Cut Act, because this is the largest tax cut in American history. What Americans are going to start to see and feel in their pocketbook begins on January 1st, and the Treasury Secretary is talking about what they're going to feel through the entire first quarter. You got no taxes on tips. You got no taxes on overtime. Seniors are going to have more relief on their Social Security tax. It's going to be reduced. And you also have a bigger child tax credit. You have a larger standard deduction where married couples can literally reduce their taxable income by another $1,500. And like the Treasury Secretary says, when they start seeing their refunds, because nothing changed from last year except the law, which is retroactive, they're going to see some major increases in what they're getting back from the federal government into their own pocketbook. This is going to be just the beginning of what they're going to feel from the bill that President Trump signed into law after Republicans passed it last July.
I guess one of the open questions is whether or not you all will look to do another reconciliation package mid to end of year next year. Is that on the table?
According to the Speaker, that's something that he definitely wants to look at. Mike Johnson has talked about that. Right now, though, Maria, we've got to be focused on getting these appropriations bills done. This is the push to get back to regular order and a regular appropriating process for Congress, which hasn't been done in decades. So that's job number one. Then we'll immediately pivot to the next one. And yes, you can always expect that there's going to be discussion about a potential reconciliation bill if, in fact, Democrats in the Senate will not help President Trump help all Americans.
I understand. All right, let me get to Minnesota, because the U.S. Attorney's Office is announcing new fraud charges in Minnesota's state programs. Federal authorities are estimating that at least half of the $18 billion that was spent on Medicaid programs since 2018, half could have been fraudulently charged. I mean, that's extraordinary, Congressman. What's your reaction here?
Maria, they've already uncovered over $1 billion, and they're counting. They're still counting, which is why they're suggesting it could rise as high as $9 billion. Look, we've been trying to sound the alarm on this fraud for the last 3 years. The press in this state have literally been complicit with Tim Walz and his administration. They've refused to hold them accountable. We have a U.S. attorney who did an interview last summer and said the amount of fraud under the Walz administration would take your breath away. And guess what?
Wow.
No one covered it, even though he made that statement, until Donald Trump just some 2 or 3 weeks ago put out on his truth about the Somali fraud in Minnesota. And by the way, calling it for what it is not racist. Not all Somalis are criminals on this thing, but you've got to look at over 90% of the people that are being charged with these crimes come from the Somali community. There's nothing wrong with calling out crime. I mean, you've got a housing program that they estimated was going to cost about $2 million a year starting in 2020. They had to shut it down in October of this year because of the fraud. They'd already sucked out $161 million, Maria. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. The $250 million pandemic, largest pandemic fraud case in the country. You've got autism clinics. 80 of them are under investigation. I mean, the list goes on. And guess what? The media in this town are still trying to cover up for Tim Walz. So thank God for President Trump lifting the curtain on this fraud. Hopefully we get to the bottom of it. And look, it's not just Tim Walz. It's our Attorney General, Keith Ellison. These guys, for 7 years, here's how ridiculous it is. Last Friday, Maria, Tim Walz created a new position in his state government to go after fraud. 7 years too late, Maria.
God. Congressman, keep calling it out, please. The audience wants truth. Thank you so much, Congressman. Good to see you. Tom Emmer joining us. Merry Christmas, sir.